All right. So, our listeners are always looking for ways to sort of go deeper and, really explore these topics that we touch on. And one thing that comes up a lot is journaling.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
You sent over this article from LeStallion. It's called 50 Journal Prompts for Healing.
Yeah.
And I was looking through this, and just the way it's organized, like right off the bat, it's so interesting because it's not just, here's 50 random prompts.
Mm,
It's actually grouped by stages of healing.
right.
So I thought maybe we could start there. Like, what is the thinking behind it? Like, why would someone structure prompts in that way?
Well, I think it speaks to the power of journaling for healing, that it's not just about venting emotions on paper.
Right.
There's a process there that can guide you through different phases and lead you towards, a sense of peace and well-being.
Okay, so let's break down like some of these stages then. So
Yeah.
the first one is processing emotions. And
Okay.
they've got some really interesting prompts in this section, like write about an emotion you've been avoiding and think about a time when anger surfaced unexpectedly.
Really?
So why is that the first step?
Well, you can't heal what you don't acknowledge, right?
Right.
So these prompts are about bringing those often hidden or suppressed emotions to the surface so you can start to understand them better.
Okay, but just writing about those feelings, isn't that kind of terrifying for some people?
I understand the hesitation, but journaling is a safe space,
Okay.
It's just you, and the page and research suggests that simply naming your emotions can have a calming effect on your nervous system.
So it's not even about, trying to analyze those emotions or dissect them, just acknowledging that they're there.
Exactly. It's like saying, hey, anger, I see you there. I'm not going to run from you.
Right.
And that can be really powerful, just that act of acknowledging.
Okay, so once we've kind of processed those emotions,
Yeah.
the next stage is understanding your past. And this is where things get really interesting, right?
Absolutely, because it's about connecting the dots between your past experiences and your current emotional state.
Yeah.
Prompts like write about a difficult experience from your past that still lingers or reflect on how your upbringing has influenced your emotional health can be so insightful.
But I mean, is there a danger there of like getting stuck in the past?
Yeah,
Rehashing old wounds?
absolutely. You want to approach these prompts with self-compassion and a gentle curiosity. The goal isn't to dwell in the pain, but to understand how those experiences might be shaping your present.
So it's more about kind of gaining perspective, almost like
Yeah.
seeing those experiences through the lens of your present self.
Exactly, and that understanding can be so liberating. It allows you to move forward with more self-awareness and compassion.
Okay, so we've processed those emotions. We've kind of looked at our past. The next category is fostering self-compassion. And I feel like this is something that we all could use a little more of, like just being kinder to ourselves.
Couldn't agree more. And this stage is crucial because healing can't happen without self-love and acceptance. Prompts like write a letter of forgiveness to yourself, or think about a time when you judged yourself harshly, encourage you to cultivate that inner kindness.
It's almost like giving yourself permission to be your own best friend.
Precisely. And that shift in perspective can be transformative. It allows you to break free from that negative self-talk and start to embrace your imperfections.
I love that. Okay, so we've processed our emotions, explored our past, and started to cultivate self-compassion. What's next?
Well, now it's time to start finding hope and resilience.
Okay.
And this is about looking towards the future with a sense of optimism and possibility.
Yeah, some of these prompts are so powerful. Like, write about something you're hopeful for in the future, or describe a time when you felt like giving up, but what kept you going. That's really powerful.
It's about tapping into that inner strength and remembering that you've overcome challenges in the past, right?
Yeah.
That resilience is a powerful resource, and these prompts help you to recognize it and cultivate it.
It's almost like reminding yourself you've got this, you can handle what life throws at you.
Exactly, and that sense of empowerment is essential for moving forward with confidence and hope.
Okay, so we are in the home stretch now. The final stage is moving forward with peace.
Yeah.
So what does that actually look like in the context of journaling?
Well, it's about integrating all the lessons learned from the previous stages and envisioning a future where peace is the foundation.
Okay.
Prompts like write about how peace feels for you or describe how you want to live your life moving forward. Really get you thinking about what a peaceful life looks and feels like for you.
And wouldn't you say that peace is such a different concept for everyone?
Absolutely. There's no one-size-fits-all definition.
Right.
So these prompts encourage you to define what peace means to you personally, and then start taking those concrete steps toward creating a life that embodies that peace.
So it's not just a feeling, it's an active choice.
Precisely, and that's why this structured approach to journaling is so powerful. It guides you through that process of self-discovery,
Right.
helping you to uncover your own unique path to peace.
I'm so inspired. I got to say, to dust off my old journal and try some of these prompts. But I always found journaling a bit intimidating, you know?
Yeah.
What advice would you give someone who's new to this and feeling a little overwhelmed?
That's a really common feeling. So don't worry. Remember, there's no right or wrong way to journal.
So no pressure to like write a novel every day.
Definitely not start small. Even 5 minutes a day can be incredibly beneficial. And remember, this is your safe space.
Yeah, it's for your eyes only, no judgment allowed.
Exactly. Don't censor yourself. Don't worry about what anyone else might think. Just let your thoughts and feelings flow.
I think that fear of judgment is what holds a lot of people back from even trying.
It's a common hurdle, but once you overcome that, you'll discover the incredible power of journaling as a tool for self-discovery and healing. Be kind to yourself, be curious, and trust the process. Hashtag TTS The Deep Dive, episode 2024-11-15, part 2 of 3. It's really fascinating, how journaling, this simple act of, putting pen to paper, can actually rewire our brains for the better.
Yeah. Now that you mention that, I have heard about the benefits of journaling for, things like anxiety and depression. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we journal, especially with prompts that encourage, that self-reflection and emotional processing, we're actually activating the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of our brain that's responsible for, planning and decision-making and emotional regulation.
So it's like a workout, but for your brain instead of your muscles.
That's a great way to put it. And the more we engage in this kind of reflective writing,
Yeah.
the stronger those neural pathways become. And that leads to better emotional regulation, increased self-awareness, and, even reduced symptoms of anxiety and depression.
So it really is so much more than just, venting or complaining. It's really a tool for growth.
Exactly. And it's not just the science either. There's something inherently therapeutic about the act of writing itself.
Right.
It allows us to slow down, connect with our inner thoughts and feelings, and process our experiences in a way that talking sometimes can't.
Yeah, I totally get that sometimes when I'm struggling with something. Even just writing it down helps me to make sense of it.
Absolutely. It's like taking all those jumbled up thoughts and emotions and putting them in order.
Yeah.
Journaling provides a space for us to explore those thoughts and feelings, without judgment or interruption.
It's like having a conversation with yourself, but on paper.
Exactly.
So we've talked about the benefits of journaling. We've talked about these different stages of healing that these prompts kind of take you through. But how can someone actually use these prompts to cultivate peace in their everyday life?
That's a great question. I think one of the most powerful things about these prompts is that they encourage you to, take an active role in your own healing.
Right.
It's not just passive reflection.
Right.
These are invitations to explore, to question, to really challenge yourself.
So it's not just writing it down, but it's using those reflections to make positive changes.
Exactly. For example, one of the prompts is write about how peace feels for you. That's not just, a whimsical exercise. That's about identifying what peace means to you.
Right.
What does it look like? What does if feel like in your life?
And once you have that clarity, then you can start to create a roadmap for, bringing more of that into your life.
Precisely. You might realize that, peace for you means setting boundaries with toxic people or spending more time in nature or, practicing mindfulness, whatever it is. The act of journaling helps bring those desires into focus so they become more tangible and achievable.
I'm curious, how does understanding the past through journaling contribute to this sense of peace? It seems like focusing on past hurts could stir up more negativity.
Yeah, that's a valid concern, and it's important to approach those prompts with self-compassion. The goal isn't to dwell on the pain, but to acknowledge those experiences and understand how they might be shaping your present.
Okay.
It's about bringing those hidden wounds to the surface so you can start to heal them.
So just the act of acknowledging those past hurts can be liberating.
Exactly. It's like releasing a pressure valve.
And what about self-compassion? How does that factor into, the journey toward peace?
Self-compassion is essential. I mean, think about it. If you're constantly beating yourself up over past mistakes or holding yourself to these unrealistic standards, how can you ever experience true inner peace?
It's like having that inner critic, constantly whispering negative thoughts.
Exactly. And those negative thoughts create a lot of inner turmoil. But when we cultivate self-compassion, we start to silence that inner critic and replace it with a voice of kindness and understanding.
So it's about treating yourself with the same care and empathy that you would offer a loved one.
Precisely. And as you practice that inner kindness, you create a more peaceful internal environment, which then, radiates outwards into your relationships and your overall well-being.
So understanding the past, cultivating self-compassion, finding hope and resilience, it's all these interconnected pieces of the peace puzzle.
Absolutely. They're like the foundation, upon which you build a life filled with peace and purpose.
And these journal prompts act as guides to help you navigate that.
Exactly. They're like little signposts along the way.
I want to talk a little bit more about the prompts themselves. I'm really drawn to the ones in the moving forward with peace category. They just have this beautiful sense of intentionality about them.
I agree. They encourage you to define what peace looks and feels like for you personally.
Right.
How do you want to show up in the world? What kind of energy do you want to cultivate?
It's like creating a blueprint for a peaceful life.
Exactly. And it's not just about, lofty ideals. These prompts encourage you to take practical steps.
Okay.
What habits can you cultivate? What boundaries do you need to set?
So translating those aspirations into actions.
Precisely. It's about creating a life that reflects your deepest values and supports your well-being.
It's not just about writing for the sake of writing. It's about using it as a tool for transformations.
You're spot on. These prompts aren't meant to be, passively answered. They're meant to spark deeper reflection, inspire action, and guide you towards a more peaceful and fulfilling existence.
I'm already brainstorming ways to incorporate these prompts into my own journaling.
That's wonderful. And remember, it's a journey, not a destination. Be patient with yourself, embrace the process, and trust that with each entry, you're moving closer to that peace that you seek.
Before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I wanted to touch on something you mentioned earlier about the importance of setting boundaries in the pursuit of peace. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Certainly, boundaries are essential for protecting your energy and creating that sense of inner harmony. When you have clear boundaries, you're essentially saying yes to what nourishes you and no to what depletes you.
So it's about knowing what you need to thrive and having the courage to protect that space.
Exactly. It's about being selective with your time, energy, and emotional investments. And this might involve saying no to commitments that drain you, limiting contact with negative people, or simply carving out time for yourself to recharge.
So boundaries are a form of self-care.
They absolutely are, and they're crucial for cultivating that sense of inner peace. When you're constantly overextending yourself or allowing others to take advantage of your time and energy, it creates resentment and imbalance.
So setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's an act of self-preservation.
Precisely. It's about honoring your needs and creating a life that supports your well-being.
This is such a powerful reminder. I think a lot of people struggle with setting boundaries, especially, people pleasers.
It's definitely a skill that takes practice, but the rewards are so worth it when you have healthy boundaries. You're not only protecting your peace, but you're creating a more balanced and fulfilling life.
This has been such an enlightening conversation. I feel like I'm gaining a whole new understanding of what it means to cultivate peace, both internally and externally.
I'm so glad to hear that. And remember, the journey toward peace is a personal one.
Yeah.
There's no right or wrong way to approach it.
It's about finding what works for you and having the courage to create a life that reflects your values.
Exactly. And, these journal prompts are wonderful tools to support you along the way.
Well, I am definitely feeling inspired to start journaling my way to peace. We're going to take another quick break. When we return, I want to wrap up this deep dive by focusing on the practical application of these prompts. What are some tangible takeaways that our listeners can implement in their own lives? Hashtag DTS, the deep dive episode 2024-11-15, part 3 of 3. Welcome back to our deep dive. We've been talking about these 50 journal prompts for healing, and I think we've really explored the power of journaling and how those prompts can guide you through, different stages. But let's talk about putting this into practice.
Yeah, and I think it can feel a bit overwhelming. When you first look at that list of 50 prompts,
Right.
Where do I even begin?
Right, it's like staring at a blank page.
Exactly. So my first piece of advice would be, choose a prompt that speaks to you in this moment.
Okay.
Don't feel pressured to go in order, just trust your intuition. Pick one that resonates.
So if you're feeling drawn to the self-compassion prompts, start there. If it's understanding your past, go for it.
Exactly. And the key is, make it a regular practice. You don't have to spend hours journaling every day. Even 5 or 10 minutes can make a difference.
So it's consistency rather than quantity.
Absolutely. And don't overthink it. There's no right or wrong way to journal. It's not about grammar or perfect sentences. Just let your thoughts and feelings flow.
It's your space to be messy, to be real.
Exactly. And as you write, pay attention to any recurring themes or patterns that emerge.
Oh, yeah.
Those can offer some really valuable insights into what's going on, beneath the surface.
It's like those aha moments when you realize something about yourself you hadn't really thought about before.
Precisely. And don't be afraid to delve deeper into those insights. Ask yourself, what does this reveal about me? How can I use this knowledge to heal and grow?
So it's not just about the writing, but the reflection and making those connections.
Exactly. And be patient with yourself. Healing takes time. There's no need to rush it.
It's a journey.
Absolutely. And as you move along that journey, celebrate your progress.
Okay.
Acknowledge those small victories. Give yourself credit for the effort that you're putting in.
That's so important because I think it's easy to get caught up in what we haven't accomplished yet and forget to appreciate how far we've come.
You're absolutely right. And one final thought, remember that you're not alone on this journey.
Mhm.
There are so many resources available to support you, whether it's a therapist or a support group or even just a trusted friend. Don't hesitate to reach out for help if you need it.
Sometimes just knowing that you're not alone can make such a difference.
It really can. And as you explore these journal prompts and start to, connect with that inner wisdom, remember this, you have everything you need within you to heal and to thrive.
This has been so inspiring. I think we've really had a deep dive into, the power of journaling. And thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us.
It's been my pleasure.
And for our listeners, as we wrap up, think back on all the prompts that we discussed today. Which one resonated with you the most, and why? What might writing about that particular prompt reveal about your own journey toward healing? Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time. Until then.